Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
Five minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I was telling you the other day, Robin, that I was watching one of the comedians in cars getting coffee things that Jerry Seinfeld did. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but it's something Jerry Seinfeld is doing now. He puts these little 8, 10, 15-minute pieces together where he goes and has coffee or a meal with another comedian, and they just talk, and it's kind of funny. He takes the best of that visit with them and puts it together and so that we can enjoy it. Well, he was with Ricky Gervais. Mm-hmm. He's with Ricky Gervais, and they're having breakfast, and Jerry Seinfeld orders 2 egg whites and 2 whole eggs fried. And Ricky Gervais goes, why you just ordered 4 eggs? What was that? And he says, no, I ordered 2 egg whites and 2. Well, that's 4 eggs. No, there's only 2 yolks. So I'm trying to avoid the cholesterol. So it was really good for me when we had a guest the other day who told us that whole eggs are pretty good for you. Because I have a hard time with just the egg whites. It's just like, why bother? Why bother if you're just going to eat the egg white?
Yeah.
Now I find out that salt is also good. So you know me, Robin. I put salt. I don't put salt on everything, but I put salt on eggs, which makes sense to most people. I also put salt on pizza, which doesn't make sense to most people. And you've always been told salt is bad for you. But do I look unhealthy? Other than my cold?
No, you look wonderful.
All right, now part 2 before we introduce our guest is the Dowager's Hump or the Widow's Hump.
Yeah.
Story. I told this earlier this morning, actually, as we were preparing for our guest. Years ago, I knew this lady, and you knew her. She was 92 years old, and she had a rather large hump on her back, and it was called I think she called it a widow's hump, and I remember looking it up. It was a dowager's hump. I just re-looked it up again so that I could say what I just said. But anyway, I remember she showed us a photograph of herself from 2 years earlier. And in the photograph, you didn't see the hump.
Yeah.
So when she was 90, she didn't have it. 92, she did. And I remember saying, and she said it had something to do with calcium, and I assume it meant deficiency. So I said to you, and to my mom, and to my sister, you as ladies, you got to take calcium. This is what's going to happen. You got to do something when you're young so that this doesn't happen. I might have been way wrong by telling you that. So what do I know? I'm just a radio guy. Dr. Robert Thompson is on the phone, and he's going to not only tell you about calcium, but maybe a little bit about salt. Dr. Thompson is a board-certified obstetrician, a gynecologist, a nutrition specialist. He was named one of the best doctors in America. He has been a leader in medical advances for more than 30 years, and his book is called The Calcium Lie 2. Right? Yeah, there's a 2 there. What your doctor still doesn't know, and he's on the phone. So we are so honored. Good morning, and it's an honor, Dr. Thompson.
Good morning. It's really wonderful to be here and to be talking to you today, too. And I caught a little bit of your conversation before we got on the air, and you're exactly right. Eggs are absolutely wonderful for you, and it turns out that the yolk of the egg is pure HDL cholesterol, 100% good for you, unless you scramble your eggs, and then it exposes the yolk to oxygen, makes it totally toxic. So be sure and avoid.
Well, I do that. Well, I didn't know that. Well, what about if you break the yolk when you're cooking it?
Yeah, you don't want to break the yolk. If you're going to break the yolk for any reason, take it out. Don't heat it and eat it. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, isn't it? It's so simple. Anyway, and your brain is 25% HDL cholesterol, and all your hormones come from HDL cholesterol, and the egg yolk is almost pure HDL cholesterol. So it's really an excellent nutritive source of HDL. So I really encourage people to eat more eggs.
Okay.
Anyway,
go ahead.
Comments about osteoporosis and calcium and sodium and salt and all that stuff is exactly right on. And it's really quite simple. The message in my book, The Calcium Lie 2, is that, we really need to know if we need calcium. We need to know if we need sodium. And 90% of the population of the United States actually has low sodium. Most hypertension is actually caused by low sodium, not high sodium, although high sodium can also cause it. And calcium is actually the worst problem that we have, because calcium is what you use to harden concrete, and it doesn't decrease the risk of fracture, and it hasn't cured osteoporosis, which is a loss of minerals from the bones, not just one mineral, calcium. It's a loss of all the minerals. So it's very important that we replace our body's mineral loss every day of our life. And if we did that, there would be no osteoporosis. It would be it's a completely nutritious disease, nutrition-caused disease from a deficiency of minerals in our food.
Really? So is there a way to know if you need to be, well, I don't even know if supplements is where you want to go with this, but is there a way to know if you need more calcium?
Yes. The best way to find out is to do a tissue mineral analysis. We actually use hair. You could use any tissue theoretically, but we use hair because it grows from the inside of the cell out. And so it's literally like taking a blood test from 95% of the body weight of all the cells in your body, because they're all going to be about the same. And as long as you properly sample the hair, you get a very, very excellent and reproducible measurement of your total body mineral content. And that's really what we want to know. That's probably the most important health test that we'll ever do in our lifetime, because that points us in the right direction. That tells us, for instance, hey, your sodium's low. You can pour on the salt, and enjoy it. Your body can't work without salt. You can't get glucose or amino acids into a single cell in your body. So all our organs are literally starving for amino acids and glucose, while the fat cells keep growing because they don't need sodium. And this is the big problem. One of the big problems we have in the medical profession today. I think we're just flying blindly in the clouds with no instruments, not even measuring accurately the mineral levels of our patients before we make recommendations like avoid sodium or get your calcium. And it's really quite absurd when it comes right down to it. And it's a very simple concept, obviously, that everyone can understand. So I'm actually out there trying to spread this message as quickly as possible, because the doctors are just not listening.
You have such a variety of stories from individuals about all of the facets of what they need help with. One of them was when you touched on diabetes. I always thought that the treatment of diabetes was very cut and dried and about insulin, but you really educated me about that, especially about the topic insulin resistance. I never knew about that.
Yes, this is a huge issue too. I mean, if you look around at the incidence of people that are overweight or above ideal body weight in the United States, and what I call the diet and exercise lie. If diet and exercise worked, everyone would be thin, and that's not the case. So, and when you do diet and exercise and you lose the weight, what happens when you quit dieting and exercise? You gain it all back. So my message is that we need to, in chapter 5 of my book, is we need to treat the underlying issue, which is insulin resistance and thyroid hormone resistance, which, by the way, is caused by the excess calcium. And as I've described it accurately, is type 2 hypothyroidism or thyroid hormone resistant. Amazingly prevalent in our society today. As a matter of fact, almost everyone, 95% of patients with excess calcium in their bodies will be hypothyroid clinically. So anyway, we have to treat the underlying reasons, and I'm completely convinced that type 2 diabetes is almost 100% preventable, but it has to be treated correctly, and you have to start treating it early. Because we're being bombarded with chemicals out there that are inducing insulin resistance in us all the time. The worst offender is probably Roundup or glyphosate. They used 1 billion tons of Roundup in agriculture in the United States last year, and it gives you an idea of the level of insult that we're up against in all our food sources, especially the GMO foods are very, very heavily laden with glyphosate.
Tell me about the connection between calcium and Alzheimer's.
Well, this was actually first described accurately in 2006, and they showed that the calcium basically shrinks the brain, and it poisons the memory cells of the brain. Turns out that there's a protein that keeps calcium out of these cells, And these memory cells in the human brain have a calcium concentration as much as 400 times lower than any other tissue in the human body, and because calcium is so toxic to the memory cells. And so this is why I've actually suggested that women have twice the incidence of dementia as men, is because they're all getting their calcium. And so this is a very, very serious offense that the medical profession is, once again, not paying attention to. We need to know if our patients need calcium or not. Most patients don't. Everyone needs minerals, and we need a minimum of 3 grams of minerals every day of our life from the time basically we reach adolescence. And then even before that, we need probably 1.5 grams every day. So it's really quite a bit of minerals that we lose every day.
We are up against a break. I'm sorry, Robin. We need to take a little break, and I want to ask you so many more questions. I want to also invite the listeners to call if they have some questions, and then, of course, we'll tell the listeners how to get the book. Before I take the break, though, the information on the website says the book is free. Am I right about that?
Actually, yes. There's a company in Texas called the Healthy Back Institute, which is contracted with us to provide the book for free. I think you have to do a purchase with their company in order to receive the book, but
okay.
it is a free book offer at calciumlybook.com.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Or you can order it directly through Amazon, or you can get it for Kindle, or you can get it through the Calcium Lie website, calciumlie.com website.
Okay.
But I think it's an outstanding opportunity to get the book and get some good health products at the same time.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood this right, because it doesn't show you on the website. It shows this guy named Jesse Cannon or something.
Yes, he's actually the CEO of the Healthy Back Institute company.
Right. We'll repeat some of that, and when we come out of the break, let's do the break, and then we'll be right back. If you have a question, especially about nutrition, about calcium, about diabetes, about Alzheimer's, a lot of these things are touched on in the book. Dr. Robert Thompson is here to answer those questions. We'll be right back after this. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Some clouds this morning, then more sunshine later today with a high of 77 to 81. Tonight, fair skies with a low of 54 inland, about 67 right on the beaches. Tomorrow, times of clouds and sunshine, the high 77 to 81. It'll be mainly clear tomorrow night. Then for Saturday, mostly sunny, the high 78 to 82. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Got a garden, and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
News Talk 1370. WOCA invites you to discover your full business potential. News Talk Radio is the perfect environment for your advertising. WOCA's News Talk format pinpoints information-hungry, better educated, high-income adults. So use us to talk to them. Call 732-8000. 732-8000. We're Ocala News Talk Radio. News Talk 1370 WOCA.
Hey, I'm Gary. And I'm Eric. Did you know that Red Eye Radio is on WOCA The Source every night from 2 to 6 a.m. and it's live?
That's right. No tape shows here.
We know that the news doesn't sleep.
And neither do we. So we're here with you live from 2 till 6 a.m. every weekday. Call us 866-90-RED-EYE. So join me, Gary McNamara.
And me, Eric Harley, every weeknight to discuss the latest in news and entertainment.
Right here on WOCA The Source.
All right, 19 minutes after 11 o'clock. Well, I kind of wish the listeners could have heard what you and the doctor were talking about off the air. Okay, there is so much more to this than I realized. Dr. Robert Thompson is on the phone. His book is called The Calcium Lie 2, and What Your Doctor Still Doesn't Know. The conversation off the air, doctor, I heard you say something about ascorbic acid, which I've always understood that was vitamin C. Say that again, what you said to Robin off the air.
Yeah, the vitamin C molecule is a complex molecule. It has at least 7 different pieces of the molecule all put together in a very complex package. And for some reason, we've all been duped into believing that ascorbic acid or sodium ascorbate or mixed ascorbigens or something with bioflavonoids is vitamin C, and nothing could be further from the truth. As a matter of fact, the ascorbic acid is a lot like the wrapper on a candy bar, and where you would buy the candy bar and then you would eat the wrapper and throw away the candy bar. It literally depletes vitamin C from our bodies every time we take it, and it induces. It induces vitamin C deficiency diseases that are so prevalent in our society today and so unrecognized that we're just failing as physicians to even think about it. All your joint and ligament problems and back problems and your knee replacements, all your elevated cholesterol, almost all plaque in your arteries and heart disease is caused by vitamin C deficiency. The vitamin C is completely responsible for all the connective tissue strength and the healing ability of your body, and the ability to metabolize cholesterol, and the ability to clot your blood, and. When you start thinking about the implications of chronic low levels or deficient levels of vitamin C, it's unbelievable what an impact this has had on our society. And every time we go to the store and we buy orange juice, we actually deplete vitamin C from our bodies.
Oh, really? So even orange juice doesn't have the real vitamin. I don't understand that. Wouldn't it be natural from orange juice?
Yeah, the reason is it's pasteurized. So unless you're fixing it fresh, you're not getting any vitamin C. You just get ascorbic acid.
Okay, so an orange. If I eat an orange, I get vitamin C, right?
Yes, theoretically, if it's vine ripened and it's grown where soil's not depleted of its copper content, and on and on and on. I really think it's very important for us, I think, to supplement with the whole food vitamin C. And I can tell you, companies all over the United States lie about their products. And I am very, very particular about who I will recommend and why. And basically, they have to provide for me a certificate of analysis from an independent source that confirms they have the whole C molecule, because my son used to play for Tampa Bay Lightning, and the trainers were actually giving all the players what they thought was whole C after every game because they'd all read my book. And I said, well, can I see it? And they showed it to me, and it was labeled whole C, and on the label it was specifically said sodium ascorbate and mixed ascorbigens, and that's not vitamin C. So I don't know how they can get away with that. But, a lot of people will claim all you need is ascorbic acid, and they're so far from, they're so mistaken, it's crazy. And basically ignorant, because it's just basic biochemistry. And we have to have that K factor to clot our blood, and the P factor, and the J factor, and the tyrosinase to metabolize, to utilize copper and metabolize cholesterol and make hemoglobin. And so even the prenatal vitamins that they're serving our women, our pregnant women in the United States, literally deplete vitamin C from the body and have increased the stretch marks and increased the hemorrhage and birth, and the problems related to increased maternal death and childbirth related to vitamin C deficiency. And we're not recognizing it.
Okay, Dr. Robert Thompson, we have a listener calling in. Let's take that call. Good morning. Thank you for waiting. You're on there with Dr. Thompson.
Yes, good morning, Dr. Thompson. Earlier you were talking about salt. What is your opinion on using sea salt versus the regular kind? And what about calcium and the possible development of kidney stones?
I believe every single person with a kidney stone or gallstone should immediately have a hair tissue mineral analysis, because they always, 100% of the time, they will have an elevated calcium on their tissue mineral analysis. And then you can start correcting the calcium levels in the body by increasing minerals. The other issue about sea salt is incredibly important. We should have never quit using sea salt. This whole story is in Chapter 1 of my book, and I think it's one of the biggest mistakes in the history of nutrition of the world, is when we got refrigeration, we quit using sea salt to preserve our meat and our fish, and we had this huge decline in our consumption of sea salt. And then they came out with a pretty white table salt that didn't clump in the South where it's humid, and it was convenient. And next thing you know, we started getting cretinism or mental retardation from iodine deficiency, which is another story we should mention. And so basically this was a huge mistake. Sea salt is 15% minerals, and it's very important that we consume those minerals on a daily basis.
I'm getting some sea salt. Okay. It tastes good. I mean, it tastes just like salt. I've had it. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, and we and we have to be sure it's not processed. There are some sea salts out there that are advertised as sea salt, and they claim that they're not iodized. Well, sea salt's naturally iodized. You can't add it to it. It's a supersaturated molecule, so it can't be added to it. And so if it doesn't have iodine, it's not sea salt. And if it's iodized sea salt, then that means it's processed also, because sea salt, you can't add iodine to it. It's already in there.
Okay.
So there's a lot of companies out there that'll deceive you. So I'm very particular to make sure that it's a harvested sea salt, that it's not processed. There shouldn't be any caking agents added to it. If you live in the South and it's humid, you can add some rice to the sea salt, but that'll keep it from caking just fine.
Yeah, well, I remember that. In my grandmother's salt shaker, she had the rice in there. Mm-hmm. We don't do that anymore. Yeah.
No.
Your grandmother was very smart.
So so what are you having for lunch?
I'm sorry?
What are you having for lunch? I want to copycat you. I'm going to try to start right now. What are you having for lunch?
I usually try to get as much organic food as I can. One of my favorite places is a local restaurant that, has all really natural and whole food stuff. And I typically eat either turkey or halibut, or I like game. We get moose and caribou here in Alaska. And
you're in Alaska?
I live in Alaska, that's correct.
Oh, wow. You got up really early to be with us, didn't you?
Yes.
Wow.
And so it's very, very important that we start thinking about what we're eating. But also, the heritage analysis will tell you specifically what's good for you and what's not. Because, for instance, there are certain vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, kale, and cauliflower that are very high in calcium. And if you have a high calcium level already in your blood, or you've had a history of kidney stones or gallstones or plaque or bone spurs, chances are those vegetables are bad for you, and you should be eating broccoli and cucumbers and celery and tomatoes and peas and summer squash and things that are high in potassium, beans and Brussels sprouts. It really can make a huge difference in your health.
I want to give away the book that you sent to us, and then I'm going to ask you to give us information so we can get the book on our own. But if you're out there right now listening and you would like the copy, we have two of them. We have two copies.
We do.
So I've got two to give away. I've got two listeners who will be lucky enough to receive these. I will leave your name on them. They'll be waiting for you here at the studio. The book, again, is called The Calcium Lie 2, What Your Doctor Still Doesn't Know, written by our guest Robert Thompson and Kathleen Barnes. We need to mention your co-author. Let me take a couple of these calls and give these books away. Good morning. You've got one of them. Who's this?
Good morning, Larry and everyone. This is Mary.
Okay, Mary. It'll be waiting for you, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. And I'll take one more call. Good morning. You've got the other book. Who's this?
Hi, this is Linda.
Linda, you know where we are, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Linda.
Thank you so much.
It'll be waiting for you. You're welcome.
All right, thanks.
Doctor, they're going quick. You're going to have to print up some more. So tell us how to get the book.
Well, there's lots of different ways, but right now there is a free book offer. If you go to calciumliebook.com, the Healthy Back Institute is giving away the book with orders from their company. They have some very excellent anti-inflammatory products if you have back pain or joint pain, muscle pain. They're very excellent. The two of their products I have tried personally, and I actually did an infomercial for them because I think they're so good. But you can also go to Amazon, or you can go to calciumlie.com and order the book through that website. Lots of booksellers carry it, and hopefully everyone will begin talking about and reading this book, because this will change your life if you start paying attention to these basics. I call these the basics. If you're not doing the stuff that's in the Calcium Lie, there's no possible way that you can achieve optimal health.
Okay, just for the listeners to understand, there is a free book offer, but it sounds like you have to buy a supplement or something from that company, right? Am I understanding that right?
I think that's the case.
Okay, and that website is calciumliebook.com, but the website for the book itself is simply calciumlie.com, and then you can simply buy the book without having to feel obligated to buy the supplements. But it sounds like the doctor supports that site as well.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure the listeners got that. We're just about out of time. Doctor, if there's anything else real quickly, could you squeeze it in?
Yeah, if there's anybody that's an auditory learner, there's actually, if you go to calciumlie.com, there's actually a lecture, like a scientific lecture where I actually discuss the book with slides and references and things like that. So you can actually see the science behind what I'm what I'm saying. None of this stuff is being made up. It's all been already proven and already discovered. I've just basically put it all together.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robert Thompson. We are absolutely out of time, but we really enjoyed the interview. Robin will put the information on how to get the book on our Facebook page. We'll be right back. Thank you, Dr. Thompson. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The morning after a shooting rampage, Parliament in Ottawa opening its session with rousing applause for Kevin Vickers, a sergeant-at-arms who shot dead the attacker, the gunman earlier fatally shooting a soldier.
Meanwhile, the mother of the gunman, Michael Zahav-Bibo, said, and I quote, "I am crying for the victims, not for my son." Authorities now say Bibo acted alone during the shooting spree that has left this country reeling.
Fox's David Lee Miller in Ottawa. A Maryland man charged with felonies after allegedly jumping the White House fence.
The suspect made it only a few steps before being cornered by two dogs. The man is seen on video kicking one and body slamming another. Today, he's charged with not only unlawful entry, but assault on police officers.
Fox Radio's Jared Halpern. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Is that an angry monkey screaming at you? Nope, it's your windshield wipers. And they're literally crying out for you to replace them. Lucky for you, Napa now has 30% off select visibility products. That's 30% off wiper blades, headlight bulbs, and more. So cut all the monkey business and conquer the job with Napa Know-How. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores while supplies last. Offer expires 10/31/14.
Pete's Parrot Emporium.
Pete? Pete?
How may I help you?
Help!
Be quiet.
Quiet!
Silence.
If only everything in business was as easy as Wix. Wix's drag-and-drop website builder makes it simple to create your stunning website yourself. Just choose a design from hundreds of beautiful Wix templates and customize it however you want. Go to Wix.com today. It's easy and free.
Wix.com.
Check this out.
New shows? Check. Check. Some new talent? Check. The same great sports talk?
I'm seeing it right now.
Wrong.
Wrong again?
Wrong. It's better.
There are so many great things going on in sports.
We gotta get it. We gotta get it. From our mics.
Test.
To your ears.
The latest update we got is...
Here are today's headlines from the source, WOCA. Early voting for the November 4th general election begins today in Marion County and runs through Saturday, November 1st. Polls will be open from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m., and voters may cast their ballot at any of 6 early voting locations, including the Supervisor of Elections office at 981 Northeast 16th Street here in Ocala. The other 5 locations are the Bellevue Public Library, the Forest Public Library, the Freedom Public Library, the Denellen Public Library, and the Reddick Community Center. In order to participate in this election, residents must have been registered to vote in Florida by October 6. Registered voters planning to vote in person during early voting or on Election Day will be asked to provide a valid photo and signature ID. If the ID presented at the polls contains only a photo but no signature, voters will be asked to provide an additional form of accepted ID with their signatures. For more information, contact the Supervisor of Elections office at 620-3290 or go online to votemarion.com. Joshua Ortiz, the 20-year-old man who disappeared after his mother was found dead in her Seminole County home, has been charged in her death. Seminole County deputies charged Ortiz with second-degree homicide for the death of Jacqueline Ortiz. Joshua Ortiz disappeared after his mother's body was found in her home off of Woodley Park Place on Sunday. He was found driving his mother's Mustang convertible in Maryland. Ortiz has also been charged with grand theft auto for taking his mother's car. Sheriff's officials are investigating a flying car that crashed Tuesday afternoon in Dunellen. The flying car was homemade and designed by a non-profit group. Sheriff's deputies say the vehicle, called Maverick, was able to take off from Dunellen Airport with 2 people inside, but then it crashed and caught on fire. Both occupants were taken to the hospital for minor injuries. No one was seriously hurt. A 31-year-old Miramar Beach man was arrested for child abuse on Tuesday, and turns out he was a former candidate for the House of Representatives with a campaign that focused on family values. Andrew Brendan Dwyer gave up his bid for personal reasons, according to news accounts from that time. Elections officials, however, said that he had been removed because he failed to meet all of the qualifications. Specifically, he was unable to register to vote due to a previous felon conviction. Dwyer and his girlfriend, 28-year-old Crimson Malay Waters, were arrested Tuesday in connection with abuse and neglect of a 3-year-old partially paralyzed and developmentally disabled child. Dwyer was charged with 2 counts of felony child abuse, while Waters was charged with 2 counts of felony child neglect. The boy was removed from the home on February 26 with an infected feeding tube, an eye infection, thrush, and severely decaying teeth, according to the report. That was more than 5 months after a child protection team was called to a Crestview home for reports of possible child abuse. And SeaWorld Orlando has announced a recently launched program called PhotoKey, on which guests can digitally access pictures taken of them around the park. A card allowing access to the photos for 1 day costs $60. Guests can buy PhotoKey cards at several stations inside SeaWorld or online. SeaWorld photographers shoot the photos at key locations throughout the park. Visitors can then view and share the photos instantly online with a mobile app, and the photos can also be turned into various mementos. And those are the headlines from The Source, WOCA 96.3 FM and 1370 AM.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Some clouds this morning, then more sunshine later today with a high of 77 to 81. Tonight, fair skies with a low of 54 inland, about 67 right on the beaches. Tomorrow, times of clouds and sunshine, the high 77 to 81. It'll be mainly clear tomorrow night. Then for Saturday, mostly sunny, the high 78 to 82. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Real estate is probably the largest and most personal investment that any of us will make. Monday, October 27th at 9:30 a.m., Bob Kennedy, owner of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services in Ocala, will be my guest to answer your questions and discuss what this brand will add to the local market. So tune in at 9:30 Monday morning and call 622-9622 with your questions. It pays to be an informed buyer or seller. This is news you can use from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services and WOCA.
Today in Florida Ag News, I'm a Southeast AgNet. Florida farmers and ranchers have until November 21st to apply for financial assistance in fiscal year 2015 through the Environmental Quality Incentives Program. Dennis Carlton is a rancher and citrus grower from Plant City who knows the importance of EQIP programs.
We're in the citrus and cattle business and have some strawberry land that we lease to other growers. I'm a 7th generation Floridian. We've been in agriculture for a long time. Our citrus operation is in Hillsborough County with some in Hardee County. Our cattle operation encompasses 6 counties here in the Tampa Bay area.
Carlton recently represented Florida in the Farmer of the Year event at the Sunbelt Ag Expo and says while he has used various programs through EQIP, he knows there are even more.
The reality is you need to check the NRCS office on a regular basis to see what programs coming under the Farm Bill that the federal government is putting out for production agriculture. And there's so many things, you know, whether it be cutting for in the cattle operation, for example, sometimes they have, and I think they do now, a cost share and piping, you know, the water troughs and that kind of stuff to get clean water to cattle. You know, there's just all kinds of programs that they have, and you just need to check and check the NRCS office and see what they have that would help, you know, your operation if you're in agriculture.
So again, November 21st is the deadline to sign up for financial assistance in fiscal year 2015 through EQIP. To get started, simply visit your local NRCS office.
How can Old Blue Jeans help communities in need? Cotton Incorporated's Blue Jeans Go Green Denim Recycling Program.
This program takes donated denim and gives it new life by recycling it into housing insulation. The insulation is then provided to communities in need throughout the United States. Since the program began 8 years ago, more than 1 million pairs of old blue jeans have been donated for recycling. For more information and to get involved, visit www.bluejeansgogreen.org. The Cotton Board and Cotton Incorporated, increasing the demand for and the profitability of cotton.
Randall Wiseman, Southeast AgNet.
Hospice of Marion County has an urgent need for volunteers to share a conversation with someone, run errands, hold someone's hand. All you need is a willingness to help others. Our volunteers believe the blessings they receive far exceed the services they offer. Will you consider serving, caring, and making a difference? Call today, 873-7441. Hospice of Marion County, making more moments of life possible.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.